Hello, and welcome to Historical Hot or Not, the history podcast with a boner for Homer, a wide on for Byron, and a semi for Shelley. I'm Aidan McCaffrey. I am not a historian, and this is
Catherine Mather, and I'm also not a historian, but we are comedians and we are horny for history. And today we are joined by comedian and historian Caitriona Dowden. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Would you say that you are horny for history?
Yeah, I would say that I'm horny enough for history to be still studying it.
Nice.
sufficiently horny for it. And what is the dividing line between your comedy and your history? Do they bleed over into each other? And what's your sort of professional, what's your professional history experience? Am I right in thinking you're studying it currently?
Yeah, so I'm doing a PhD at the moment. So I'm kind of a student, but I'm sort of more research oriented. And I very much try to reduce my workload by interspersing my PhD research into my comedy as much as possible for maximum efficiency. So I do a lot of comedy about medieval nuns at the moment.
Nice. So is that what is your PhD on? What's here?
It's like the least snappy PhD title ever. But the title is The Restriction and Mediation of Sacred Spaces in Imagined Journeys of the High to Late Middle Ages. But what it actually is I look at depictions of sacred space in visionary literature where people travel to the afterlife. So kind of like Dante's Inferno. And then I look at like what spaces they encounter.
Nice.
I feel like we should come up with a similarly fancy description for this podcast. That masks the fact that it's just a crude comedy podcast. Like, it's a podcast about the aesthetics of beauty and changing beauty standards across the whole of recorded history, from classical antiquity right up to the modern day. And there is an assessment-based element within that. And then so, can you simplify that? We just discussed whether or not we'd bang people from history. That's it.
Oh yeah, there we go. What sort of led you to that? I always wonder how that PhDs are so specific, which is fair. That's the point of them, isn't it? But like, what was the route that got you to that?
I was raised quite Catholic and sort of got really into like deeper and deeper into the history of it to try and work out a lot of things in Catholicism don't seem to be in the Bible. So I was kind of interested in sort of where do they actually come from, and sort of through that things like purgatory is a lot of what I'm looking at the moment, where you sort of think like, why are we being taught this? And then it's, I don't know, a lot of medieval kind of semi-folklore influence and stuff like that I'm quite interested in. So sort of through Catholic trauma.
Because so much of, I can certainly relate to that. Because so much of Catholic, I find Catholic history really interesting, and it is fast because when we're growing up, we're told this is what the Bible says, but it doesn't even take that much research. Where you're looking into it at a professional level. But even if you just looked at it at an amateur level like I am, it's very quickly you expose how a lot of the things that are in there are just not necessarily the whims, but just what was important in that day, what in that particular century, with that particular power dynamic. And that's kind of how it gets in. And that's especially true when you consider how often it's been translated and what, the words mean as you take it into a different language and stuff like that.
My understanding of purgatory is that just that they would, it was to scare people into paying the church to get people into heaven. Is that basically it?
That's definitely one possibility, that it's, if you think people are in purgatory, you can charge them money to help their soul get through there faster, or to pray for other people. But also there are some other theories, like some people think it's more to do with the fact that, I don't know, it gained a lot of popularity during times of plague and disease, because potentially people are thinking like, well, everyone's dying really fast and they don't have time to go to confessional to commute their sins, so maybe this is a way that they can, not go straight to hell if they've died a good person. So there's different, it might be to serve people's emotional needs, and it might be to exploit them for money, or it could probably be both.
Yeah. Each theory bleaker than the last.
Caitriona, on your comedy, am I right in thinking you won was it the Chortle Student Comedy Award?
Yes, that's correct.
Congratulations. Are you looking
Thank
forward
you.
to, in 20 years' time, regretting that you won it? Because Chortle will not remove the video of you winning from their website ever.
Yeah, I regret even more the year before that I did it. I didn't go through the heats, and that video is also still there and it's terrible.
I would hate it if it was me, but I do like seeing like Joe Lycett's performance in 2011, and it's like, although his is like annoyingly confident. It's like, hang on, I thought these were supposed to be shit, and no, this is actually quite good.
Yeah.
What? How much of so? Did you do much history stuff in your winning performance at the Chortle Awards or not?
Yeah, I did do a bit. I do a bit where I read a medieval ghost story in my set. So I just kind of started doing more kind of historically oriented comedy at that point. So yeah, a little bit.
Nice. Cool. Got any more questions, Kath?
Awesome. Well, I was going to say, shall we crack on with our subject of the day?
Yes.
So, Aidan, if you would like to tell the good people what the fuck we're doing, and then
This is Historical Hot or Not with Aidan McCaffrey and Catherine Mather, in which we Catherine's going to tell us a story. She's going to tell us a story about someone real from history. She's going to tell us about their life. We're going to look at an image of that person and decide whether they are aesthetically hot, whether we find them hot on a superficial level. And then when we get into their life story, we will decide, have a reassessment and decide based on their personality and everything they did, are they still hot? Would we bang them? And if that person is bangable, we will put them on the biotap tapestry, where they shall have their legacy living forever in this hypothetical concept tapestry that we have made up. That was terrible. I feel like I haven't introduced the format of this podcast in ages because you've been leading a lot of them lately, Kath, and it's like, I feel like I totally bodged that.
Yeah.
Anyway, you get the idea.
A little bit, yeah.
Yes.
But
It's historical hot or not. Are historical figures hot? And I shall hand it over to Kath, who will tell us about a figure.
So all of our subjects are, of course, on the eTrost dating app. So if you would like to open up your eTrost dating app, I'm just going to send you the profile picture for today's. Oh, it says Messenger. Your message was not sent. I don't know if you got that or not.
I've got it.
Hey, it lied. So if you'd like to open up your eTrost dating app, we'll have a little look at today's subject. Her name is Elizabeth. She is from Hungary and she is 54 years old, although in this image she is a little bit younger than that. Probably 20s, but I don't know. Yeah, so anyway, Caitriona, if you'd like to just describe, because this is obviously an audio format, so picture's terrible. If you'd like to describe this image to the good people and let us know your feelings on it, would you?
Yeah, she's an extremely pale woman. She's wearing kind of an early modern outfit with like a ruff around the neck and holding a handkerchief, and kind of looking quite ominously at the viewer, and I'm into it.
It's a weird look, isn't it? Because at first thought you like that sadness, but the longer you look at it, it's not, is it? It's
a bit
feels
threatening.
like someone else. Yeah. What do you think, Aidan?
I mean, she's incredibly pale, but I suspect on this podcast, we're all going to be fans of that. This is very much the Irish skin fortnightly on this podcast. Incredibly. It is quite sad looking. Is there something going on with her ear? I can't tell if she's got like a deformed ear or if it like her headdress thing is like pushing it forward in a strange way, or maybe it's just a error on the part of the artist.
I think it's just a shit drawing.
Shit, yeah. That is a very interesting rough, because if you look as it's painted, and remind listeners, you can see this image in the podcast app. There's a link to it if you can't immediately see the image. It looks like a perfectly level surface, on top of that roof. I mean, it's at an angle, but it looks like if she were to just tilt her head back a bit, that's some shelving space right there to put her items on, to put her trinkets.
You could pop a croissant on it.
You could.
Couldn't you?
You might have to pop
Lie back
a
on the
croissant on it.
sofa.
Yeah. You may have to pop a croissant on the other side as well for balance, or a cup of tea that has exactly the same weight as the croissant.
Perhaps a pan au chocolat.
Yeah, exactly, to create a kind of equilibrium. Really incredibly baggy sleeves. I think these might be the baggiest sleeves I've ever seen. I actually think you could fit a whole one of her inside the sleeves.
Yes. It's a balloon sleeve, isn't it?
It's a balloon sleeve. I mean, there was an episode of Seinfeld called The Puffy Shirt. It had nothing on this. This is way puffier. Is she? What do I think of her attractiveness? She looks like she could be quite pretty. It's just hard because she's, as I say, she sort of looks quite sad. And I have an inkling that I know what she did with her life. And and I don't think
she should be sad.
She should be sad because she should be thinking about the terrible things she's done. So
yes.
I'm going to give her a pass on the looks. I mean, as in I'm going to say I would based on her looks, but that's only because I think I know where this is headed, and it's not in that direction.
No. So based on looks, she's got 3. She's through to the next round. She's got 3 yeses. That's good. I think I would as well. She's quite pretty. You know, she's quite sad, but a lot of my exes have been quite sad actually, and remained so. So
they lost you, Kath. How could they be happy?
Oh no, that was when they left. That was when they perked up a little bit then. So, this is Elizabeth Bathory. I'm sure that I'm saying that wrong because she's Hungarian, but that's how I'll be saying it because that's how I can pronounce it. She was born on the 7th of August, 1560. Her parents were Baron George V1 Bathory, or 6, and Baroness Anna Bathory. Her uncle was Stephen Bathory, Prince of Transylvania, who later went on to become King of Poland and Grand Duke of Lithuania.
We've all got an Uncle Steve.
Yeah, King of Poland. What are the best credits of any of your families?
I have an uncle called. Actually, there's an author called Anne McCaffrey, who I think she did fantasy stuff, and I always wanted to be related to her, but I'm not. It's not even the same spelling of McCaffrey. But I am related to a former professional footballer and football club manager called Aidan McCaffrey. He's got exactly the same name as me. I've mentioned him on the podcast before. My ambition with comedy career is to displace him in Google search results. And I'm only about 25% of the way there. It's not going too well. You know, this guy played for Newcastle United, Bristol Rovers, Carlisle United. I've got a podcast about history where I discuss dead people I'd like to bang. But yeah, he's my dad's cousin. So that's the best I've got. 59 caps at Newcastle United. I've only done 30 episodes of this. What about you, Caitriona?
Damn.
I have some ancestors that were involved in quite a famous explosion in the Irish War of Independence in the 20s.
Really?
They were.
How were they involved?
They were building explosives in this cottage, like the family cottage, by stealing fuel from the local lighthouse, and they were doing it by night to kind of send the bombs to Dublin, to attack British police barracks. And then as they were building the bombs, I imagine the health and safety wasn't ideal, and apparently my great uncle Thomas accidentally cut the wrong fuse in the bomb and exploded the house. And it's quite a famous sort of setback for the IRA in that time. There's a monument to it in the village, and they all march around it every year.
Hang on, what's the monument? Is it your great uncle just a shocked look on his face as he realizes
just with a pair of scissors? No, it's of a harp.
While I do feel sad,
I think sanitizers it.
While I do
less threatening.
While I do feel sad for this man you're related to, it really has loads of Four Lions energy. Just some guys.
He also survived.
Oh right,
Did he?
It's
Everyone else died.
Oh no! Oh, that's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
he must have told the truth,
You know,
because
it's
he could
good
have
for
made
line
anything up.
punching.
He could have said a bird flew in and set it off. But no, if he got out and went, I'm going to be totally honest. I blew up my own bomb. I was hoisted by my own petard. Or to be put it another way, my friends were hoisted by my petard.
Yeah, it's quite honourable in a way.
Yeah, I'd have definitely said that it was John and not me.
Yeah, definitely. Kath, do you have any relatives who nearly blew themselves up?
No, I've got nobody of note really, which is why I was asking you guys, because yeah, we're quite a not a dull bunch, but we're just not got famous for anything, which is fine.
Call a spade, working class scum.
Yeah, that's exactly what we all are. So Elizabeth, God bless her, was by all accounts quite an intelligent person. She spoke Latin, German, Hungarian, and Greek. She was privileged. No, she was raised in a palace. So, you know, like quite a lot of the people at the Pleasance Courtyard this year. She was wealthy and she was beautiful. Does that come across as me being a bit bitter?
You?
I hope so.
You with bitter class resent. You shock me, Kath.
If she was around today, she'd have had a fantastic Instagram. As Orange Wombat on the Ask Historians Reddit sub, who I will be quoting heavily in this episode, they said, in an area where a noble family was wealthy if they owned a single castle, the Bathory family owned dozens of castles, thousands of acres of land, and tens of thousands of enslaved serfs. So, good for her.
Sound like pricks.
It is thought... Yeah, they are. Well, here's the next bit, you see. It's thought that she had epilepsy and she was a bit sickly, possibly due to the amount of inbreeding going on at the time.
As you said in the previous episode, Kath, hold my Habsburg chin.
And the Habsburg said, hold my chin.
That's it, sorry.
Yes, the other big family ruling Europe at the time were the Habsburgs, who had their own fair share of genetic issues and giant chins due to inbreeding. And before you at me, I'm not saying that everybody with epilepsy is inbred. I'm saying that Elizabeth's parents were first cousins. So, you know. And at the time, having epilepsy was considered to be more of a moral problem than a medical one. So it was kept very quiet, and because it was considered shameful. The treatment for epilepsy at the time was to rub the blood of someone who was not affected with epilepsy on your lips, and maybe give that person just a little bit of skull after they'd finished having a fit.
A skull, human skull.
Cheeky bit of skull. I mean, it doesn't specify, so it could be a cat's or something. I don't know.
I mean, either way, it's not unless it's a bird skull, which is probably crunchy and easily to digest. If my cat's behaviour is anything to go by, human skull, that'd be quite a thick wedge you'd get in there.
Yeah, I guess life was a bit cheaper back then, wasn't it?
I wonder what the waiting list for skull was in the health service back then.
Mate,
I'm
you've
sure
got
she
to
could
stop
afford to go
fitting.
private.
Yes. What have you? Do you know of any other weird medical sort of cures and shit? Any that you guys have heard of?
Well, I'm about to, as I was saying earlier before the record, I'm about to give my body up to medical science so I can afford to go to Edinburgh. So ask me in a month. I've got no idea what they're going to do to me. For all I know, they're going to say, give me a little packet that I think are nuts and ask me to eat them and tell me afterwards, you've just eaten a smashed up human skull. Let me know if your psoriasis disappears.
Caitriona?
I think my favourite one is cures for like a wandering womb, which is probably not a real illness, but in the Middle Ages they thought that your womb can move around your body, and so if a woman is sickly in any way, it could be that her womb has gone too high up towards her head or too low down the other direction. And they thought wombs didn't like bad smells. So say you think your womb's gone too high up, you put something bad smelling towards her face and something nice smelling at the other end to coax the womb down again. So I think that's my favorite historical cure.
So what, like you put some
It's a bit
dog shit near
nicer
her
than-
nose, a lemon scented wet wipe near her
Yeah.
groin, and boom, you've solved her wandering womb.
Hope for the best. Yeah.
And that sorts epilepsy.
Wandering womb does sound a bit like a misogynistic term for a loose woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, how come you and Sandra split up? Well, let's just say she had a bit of a wandering womb. It's like, all right, okay, no more questions asked.
That does sound a bit to me like, you know how starfish, when they eat something, they just put their stomach out and go over it to eat it. That
I did
is
not know that.
My boyfriend used to work at an aquarium, so I know everything about them. But he, wandering womb would just it gives me the vibe that the womb would come out and just the penis and just absorb it.
It's a bit like alien vibes.
Yeah, just comes out of your chest.
Yeah.
So, in 1571. When Elizabeth was about 10 or 11 years old, she was engaged to the 14-year-old Ferenc. I'm going to call him Francis because that's the British version of saying this, anglicised. I don't fucking know. Francis Nadasti. And she was sent to live at his castle so she could be taught how to run the estate and how to be a good wife. The Nadasti family were also mad wealthy and influential. And the two married on the 8th of May, 1575, when and the two married on the 8th of May, 1575, when Elizabeth was 14 and Francis was 19, at a wedding that could only be described as extremely extra, with 4,500 guests in attendance. He adopted his wife's surname, as her family were more influential, and the two lived at Savar Castle, which belonged to Frankie's family. How many guests do you think that you could get to your wedding or funeral?
I reckon 30 would be a good turnout.
Yeah. Is that what you would want? Or
Yeah. I don't. It seems stressful to have a castle's worth of guests.
It's a lot of people, isn't it?
Mm.
It's a really big catering bill.
I think I've got 1,500 Facebook friends, so I think I would get 1,500 people to my wedding, and I am assuming that the 20 of those people that I actually know would come, and the 1,480 open mic comedians that I've added as friends over the years would also drop everything to come to my wedding. So yeah, there we go, 1,500.
I mean, you are the only one of us who is actually married.
That's true. And actually,
how many came?
Two.
What? Did you elope?
No, but we did elope's when you literally elope is literally when you go out of town and do it, isn't it? But we didn't do that. But we did do it sly on the secret and just invited two witnesses, my brother and her best friend, and then one of my friends who just happened to be working near the venue came and said hi to us after the wedding, and that was that. So I mean, talking about hubris, I'm talking about 1,500 people. When the actual bare truth is so much sadder. 2 people. Not one open mic comedian came to my bloody wedding. Gutted.
I'd have come if you'd have asked. I probably wouldn't have. I didn't know you that well then.
We didn't know each other at all. It was pre-stand-up.
So while the marriage was absolutely made to tie two wealthy families together, the two did seem to like each other, and they went on to have 5 children, 3 of which survived infancy. They were called Anna, Catelyn, and Paul. Now, there was a rumour that these were not Elizabeth's only children, and that she had had a child when she was aged 13 with a peasant boy, who, according to biographics on YouTube, had his nuts cut off at the order of Elizabeth's husband-to-be, Francis, and then thrown to the dogs, and the baby was given away. Which is a good form of birth control, isn't it?
What, having your nuts cut off? Oh, having the baby thrown away.
Yeah, and then just throw the baby away. No more ball sack.
That is a brutal retroactive punishment, both on man and child.
It is, because the kid had nothing to do with it. Did they? But Francis was a soldier fighting against the Turks in the Ottoman-Hungarian War, and to this day he is still a celebrated war hero in Hungary, becoming known as the Black Knight of Hungary. Given your current stats, both of yous, what would you like to be remembered as?
The Chortle Student Comedian of YouTube 2022.
Celebrated hero. Probably,
Yeah.
I think I'd probably be the angry cunt of Rochdale or
The
something.
angry cunt of Rochdale.
But that could describe so many people.
Yeah.
You know.
I make a big thing about my middle class identity in my comedy, so maybe that's it. The conservatory owner of Otley, perhaps.
That's nice.
Yeah. The house renovator
That's
of
less
LS21.
Are you giving people your actual address and postcode?
I kind of want this bit to end because the more that it goes on, the closer it's getting to the mirthful man of number 10 King Street in Otley. Not my actual address. That's my mum's address.
I think we should keep this. I'm going to keep this going so you just dox yourself.
And my first memorable password is this, and my second memorable password is that.
Mother's maiden name. So, as I guess was the case for everybody at this time, from being very young, Elizabeth was exposed to a lot of violence because it was a very violent time, but she was also drawn in to violence. So life was short and cheap, and punishments were really brutal. You get caught stealing, you lose a limb, that kind of thing. It's a lot, right? So Elizabeth reportedly started laughing when, as a child, she saw a man who was accused of stealing being sewn into the belly of a horse.
Oh.
Yeah. Which I don't. How do you? Was the horse dead? How do you die?
You get digested by the horse.
You get digested by the horse. Maybe. Because they can't fit it through the mouth, so they've got to go directly into the belly.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Also, what's the horse done?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. It's like
Poor horse.
that's like saying if you sew some sausages to your belly, have you digested them? No. Just.
Well, I think it's in the belly of the horse, though, isn't it? It's like opened up and the criminal is put inside.
Yeah. I mean, I assume the horse must be dead, right? Because
would be after
that. Yeah. For sure. They didn't know about germs.
But I mean, it sort of depends on context. I mean, in the film The Revenant, Leonardo DiCaprio cuts open a bear and stays in the stomach to keep warm. So, depending on what time of year it is, if it's deepest winter, those Central European winters can get damn cold. So, for all we know, the guy might have been happy to be inside the horse.
That's actually quite considerate.
Yeah. It's lovely. A lovely horse skin jacket. It was a time when servants would be beaten silly as punishments for slight mistakes. War was rife, and people were generally exposed to way more pain and suffering than we are now. So on the 4th of January 1604, Elizabeth's husband, Francis, died when he was 48 of an unknown illness. Ooh. They had been married for 29 years at that point, and records suggest that the illness had begun in 1601 and caused him to have pain in his legs, which progressed to the point that he couldn't walk, which is difficult when you are a soldier. He asked the nobleman and Palatine of Hungary, Grigory Thurzo, to look after his heirs and widow. A Palatine is a representative of the monarchy, kind of like a viceroy. And this is where the fun bit starts. If by fun you mean brutal, unforgivable crimes. So most people, when you say Elizabeth Bathory, will know her as the serial killer who killed 650 virgins to bathe in their blood. And would you believe that this may have been sensationalised? But either way, she was a proper cunt.
650.
That's a lot of people.
I don't really know much about her, but I knew she was a serial killer. And in my head, I was thinking, I wonder how many it will be. Will it be a dozen? Will it be 2 dozen? Probably top out at 3. 650. Where'd you get the time?
Well, she didn't have a job, did she?
Yeah, just aristocrat, nothing to do. So I'm just gonna slaughter some virgins and bathe them in their blood.
Yeah. It's contested, so yeah, she might not have been.
It was actually a more socially
Misogyny,
acceptable 520.
Yes. It's unclear when the killing began, but Elizabeth had a penchant for torturing young servant girls to death. It's nice to have a hobby, isn't it?
Whatever gets at the house.
Elizabeth would beat them, stab them, burn them with hot rods, both inside and out, stab them with needles, leave them to freeze to death in the cold, and tear skin from their victim's face with either tongs or her teeth. A witness said it could take up to 500 blows to kill a girl, with the walls and floors being covered in blood. There was so much blood in one instance that the ashes had to be scattered on the floor to soak it all up. Kind of like when a kid at school's sick and they got to bring in the sawdust.
500 blows to kill one person.
Yeah.
Did that not come down over time as she built up her arm strength from all the previous killings? Maybe she started off on 500, but she was I don't know, it's like bench pressing. I assume with bench pressing, it's the higher it goes with her. She's trying to lower the number over time, kind of like with golf. Do you know what I mean? What's it called in golf where you handicap? She starts off with a serial killer handicap of 500 blows, but then it sort of come down to about 15 by the time she kills the last victim. I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
I mean, I think that she enjoys the blows.
Or she makes them last.
I think that's the thing.
When you eat a pizza really slowly so you can really savor it.
Just like that.
Yeah, I don't think her methods sound like efficiency is her top concern.
Yeah, she's got time, hasn't she, to kill?
If she was being line managed on this, she'd almost certainly be put on a performance improvement plan. But that's not what's going on.
No, she's the one doing the performance plan. Some people said that there were so many coffins there were not enough priests to form the funerary services for the dead. That's bad, isn't it?
It's
creating jobs.
Yeah. The coffin makers were flourishing. And a lot of people were getting hired for servant jobs that year. Fucking killing
lots
them
of
all.
openings. Lots of openings.
I mean, honestly, the amount of details on the killings, I could go into loads of detail, but I'm not going to, because it's a bit true crime podcasts. They can just descend into fucking snuff, can't they? And it's gruesome. Look it up if you want to. There are details there. I'm not going to tell you about how she killed these kids.
Also, as the person who edits this, please don't describe every 650 victims. Just give us the broad strokes.
She had 4 accomplices called John Fixo Ujvari, Helena Jo, Dorothy Sentes, and Kate Beniski. Sorry, they're also Hungarian.
So is Fixo a Hungarian name? It's not like his sort of gangster handle, this is John Fixo Smith. He likes to fix the bodies for me. It's not like that.
No, it is exactly like that, yeah. Ficzko. They were all staff who worked at the castle. And people did start becoming a little bit suspicious of the amount of people that were going missing around Elizabeth, with her local priest threatening to excommunicate her because they're like, come on, Liz, we know what you're doing.
Is this where the phrase "you just can't get the staff" comes from? Because that's what the other staff must have been saying. God, you can't keep them. Each one lasts a week, 2 tops, and then we've got to get another one in.
Possibly, yeah. I don't know. The thing is, they were all poor, so no one gave a shit because life was cheap. Until one day, Elizabeth began a gynaeceum. like a finishing school for wealthy girls where they could learn etiquette. They'd go and live at her castle to learn, and instead she'd kill them horribly. I'd written here, she'd kill them horribly, physically, not just on the inside like the school system did to me. Did you guys enjoy school?
I enjoyed it academically. Not so
Same.
much socially.
It's horrible, isn't it? An awful place.
I had like one close friend in school that we used to sneak around the corridors with like cut out apostrophes and just correct all of the signs and worksheets around the school, so we weren't making a lot of friends.
As in what, you were correcting the grammar on all these things?
Yeah. Like if it was a sign that said, girls' toilets and there was no apostrophe, we'd kind of sneak around and correct it.
Did you ever go absolutely crazy and start putting apostrophes where they were not required?
I don't think we were that anti-authoritarian. It was extremely conformist vigilante work.
Once these rich girls started going missing, people started to care, because these girls had rights in law in the way that poor girls didn't at the time, because I guess they were just sort of property of their masters. There were 300 witness statements taken, and according to Orange Wombat of Reddit, our friend from earlier, Grigor Thurzo, whom Francis had asked to look out for Elizabeth on his deathbed, was the one who ended up looking into her and all of this, which must have been a very difficult thing for him. You'd be so torn, wouldn't you?
It's like Hank in Breaking Bad. The last place he thought to look.
Yeah.
Brother-in-law.
Mm-hmm. He'd been asked, Thurzo had been asked to conduct the investigation by King Matthias II. And while Thurzo was convinced of Elizabeth's guilt, the more that he learnt, he decided to speak with the children to see if they could come to an arrangement, which they did. In 1610, the 4 accomplices were tried and sentenced to death, except for Kate, who the judge said that she was more of a reluctant observer than a participant. But Elizabeth was never tried. It was decided that this would be an embarrassment to the family name. So on the 30th of December 1610, she was sent straight to jail and did not pass go. She was confined to a suite of rooms within Castle... God, it's so Hungarian. Castle Szeged. I mean, I don't know. Look, I'll Csejethe. How do you say that?
Too many consonants, not in the right order, not enough vowels.
Yeah, it's incorrect. I don't get it. Is that a kind of Pablo Escobar kind of prison? Is that the kind of prison you could get on board with? Do you feel like she was punished?
It's sounds like rich person's prison. Like, at the end of The Wolf of Wall Street, where his prison has, like, tennis courts.
It doesn't sound like she was getting out of the house that much as it was, so I don't...
Yeah, it's kind of the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the same existence, but...
I feel like community service would...
Yeah. It'd be like if someone said to me, your community service is staying in and watching lots of Doctor Who. It's like, I'm on board with that. It's kind of what I've been doing with most of my time anyway. Can I carry on recording my podcast from my house? Oh, yeah, just fill your boots. Like, brilliant. This has worked out perfectly for me.
Although she couldn't do her equivalent of watching Doctor Who, which was torturing kids to death.
That's true.
So, with regard to the number of people killed as well, it's said that actually it's probably quite a lot lower than 650. Probably more sort of like 50 to 100, which is still a lot. I'm not not downplaying it. Like, she was still, that there are just so many different numbers being thrown around. It was a long time ago. We've already established that most of these people were not seen as people at the time. There would be reasons for some people wanting to inflate the figure due to misogyny and power, etc. There'd be reasons for people wanting to lower the figure for embarrassment and to save face. So it is difficult to say how many people she killed. She wasn't making a list,
If you are anti-misogyny, this probably isn't... Bathory's cause is not the one you want to take up.
aren't there some people that are sort of defenders of her because they think that she was framed in kind of misogynistic witch hunts? Like, I've definitely seen feminist scholars kind of getting into Bathory's corner before.
Yeah, which, I mean, I guess she was a widow, she was powerful, she had a lot of money, influence, and she didn't remarry, so that there would be plenty of reason to, discredit her in whatever way you could.
But yeah, it does seem like a weird cause to take up of all of the feminist causes you could pick.
Just choose someone who was definitely good.
Just pick a lady who wrote a nice novel in the 19th century, or the first woman doctor, not the first woman in Hungary to kill potentially 500 people.
Mostly children as well.
We can't stress that detail enough.
And what is it with female serial killers? It's always poisoning. Well, it wasn't in her case, but it's always children. It's just like, I don't know, beat a bloke to death or something.
If you're a serial killer, you're trying to go against whatever the most established norm is. And I guess most people's expectation of a woman in society, and a lot of women's most primal urge, is perhaps to be a mother. So if you've decided to forsake that, you might run, again, diametrically in the opposite direction and be like, well, I don't want to be that, I will kill children instead. I don't know. This is very much pop psychology that I'm offering, but I wonder if it's something to do with that.
Possibly. Or it could just be that it's easier.
Well, they're easier to get hold of.
There is that.
Yeah. 21st of August, 1618, Elizabeth complained to a guard that her hands were cold. Bloody classic women, eh? He told her to go to sleep, which she did, and slept forever. So it was a really good sleep. Oh, banging sleep. She was 54.
That's actually made me quite worried, because
and
my wife's always complaining about having cold hands.
You're like, this is just like Bathory.
I'm just like, you're such Australian. You're always whinging about some part of your body being cold. And one day I'm going to say that to her, and you're going to wake up and find her dead. So I might take it more seriously next time she mentions it.
Yeah. And she's also killed 650 children as well.
I have been wondering where all our cleaning staff have been going.
So yeah, I mean that's Elizabeth Bathory. My sources were Orange Wombat and Ask Historians Reddit. Absolutely fantastic document they've put together, and Biographics on YouTube, who had a little bit of extra spice on top of the original source. So, knowing what we know now, would you?
Caitriona, as a guest, you can go first.
I feel like maybe I could change her. So I'm going to say yes.
I like a bad lad. I can make him settle down. I can make this woman stop killing.
What would your first sort of idea be for changing her? Where would you begin on that?
I think just a chat. I think would. Like, have you thought about not killing 600 children as a starting point, and then maybe teach her the harp. alternate hobby.
Yeah. Do you know what you're doing with those fingers? Do you know what else you could be doing other than torturing children?
Lovely music.
Yeah.
Caitriona, don't be that one politician in 1939 who was like, if I could just have one conversation with Hitler. That's why I'm not voting for war. If I can just sit down with them for 5 minutes.
So you would be willing to date this project?
Yeah, I think it would. It wouldn't be boring.
That is true.
So, yeah,
well, it would be boring because you'd be cleaning up the cellar all the time. Just constantly mopping, puddle of blood after puddle of blood. That splat is hard to get off the wall. I used to work in a hospital and have to clean up blood. It's tricky stuff. And I was doing it like within 30 minutes of the operation. You might go and find out some kill from 2 weeks ago. It's like, it's too late to get the salt on the carpet. I'm aware that I am sort of assuming that blood and red wine have the same chemical properties there, but you know what I mean.
No, you just got to wash it in cold water.
Oh, okay.
Everyone knows that.
Uh-huh.
So you get a blood stain out. That and a bit of 2 parts bicarbonate of soda, 1 part water. That'll do it.
Kath, you're trying to tell us something
I recently
about
Yeah, I recently cut. You know, when you got shoes and they rub on the back of your foot, and you're like, "That's fine." You know, don't like it hurts, but I'm nearly home now. I'll just ignore it and keep going. And I got home, and the amount of blood that was on my foot, in my shoe, on my trousers, I can't. It was like someone had tried to kill my foot.
one day trying in some new Converse, and the next day you look like Christ crucified to the cross through his heel.
Yeah, I came home and my boyfriend was like, "What the fuck has happened?" Just blood everywhere. I walked home. That's what happened.
And he's thinking, she didn't. She's kicked someone to death. That's what's happened here.
Yeah, that's the only thing that could have happened. Aidan, would you, knowing what you know now about Lizzie B?
No.
You're not really her target, so you'd definitely be safe.
That's true. Still going to say no, knowing what I know. She's too murderous for my liking. And I'm very sort of... I'm always concerned that the biotapestry is a reflection of our morality, which is why I'm like, I don't even want to put her on there for a laugh. It's like, you're not going on.
That's fair. I mean, we could say during her cock years, when she had a bit of cock, was all right. It was when the cock was lacking.
No, because we know already. Did you say she laughed at watching a man get sewn into a horse when she was a child? So I feel like the seeds of murderous destruction were always there.
Yeah, I guess she just didn't have anyone to rein her in anymore.
And I don't want to have a one-night stand with someone and, and then wake up in an equine stomach. I've been there before, and I'm not going to let it happen again. I shouldn't have let it happen the first time. But, fool me once.
Edinburgh Festival 2018.
I was saying to you earlier, Kath, I want to do wackier shows. Maybe that's the answer. Just the show is you sewing me into a belly while I try and reel off as many equine puns as possible.
Yeah, we'll leave a little hole for the cable to come out.
Aidan and Kath, horsing around, live at the underbelly.
Would it be the same horse or a different one?
She's the same one she witnessed?
No, I just mean that if we're doing this at the festival, do you want me to kill 30 horses or one horse?
That's a really good question, because you've got the rot factor, haven't you?
And also, does the Pleasance have space for 30 horse carcasses? 29 will probably have a day off.
How much does it cost to buy, kill, and dispose of a horse? And then we've got to calculate, best case scenario, what is the bucket collection going to look like at the end of each show? And then I'd say sort of work backwards from there. And we'll probably end up at felt horse. It's probably where we're going to end up, if we're honest.
I also think you'd probably need at least 2 suits. Yeah, no, you're right. She was a nutter from start to finish.
So are you saying no as well?
I think so, yeah.
You think so?
Don't know. I mean, she's fit, don't get me wrong. I see that. But I don't like being on edge around people. I find it really stressful, And I think, I'm not a young woman anymore. I think that an MC said to me once, I was like, "Oh, I don't think these people are going to like me. They don't seem like the people that would respect a young woman." And he went, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 31." And he went, "Well, you're not young, are you?" Which was hurtful, but also he's right.
Hurtful, but it relaxed you pre-gig. So in some ways,
it did,
and
I did actually quite well. Yeah, he did. Thanks, Keith. But yeah, I feel like I'd be on edge a lot. I don't like screaming. It stresses me out. There's no way that you wouldn't get nosebleed.
Well, we don't know. Like, she may have put like soundproof padding in the wall, like I have for my podcast studio. You don't know. This is a hobby, remember?
Loads of egg cartons.
Yeah. She spent all of her youth collecting egg cartons.
Oh, you play the drums.
Yeah. I think she could be considering that way. If it was soundproofed, if you knew it was soundproofed, would that change it, Kath, or not?
So if I didn't have to know about the killing, or would I still know about the killing? I just couldn't see or hear it.
The latter.
I think it's still a no.
Caitriona, I have to clarify something. Are you saying yes or no?
I'm saying yes, but I'm glad that I'm outvoted.
No, hang on. I need to clarify something. You're not outvoted. I really fucked up with this podcast, and I made the barrier for entry. As long as anyone says yes, they get on the tapestry.
Ah.
I know I really fucked up.
now I feel
It came to a head. It came to a head with the Guy Fawkes episode. Oh, and I should have shut down Kath's terrorist lust. But
did he make it?
He's on the
I
video
would Guy Fawkes.
Yeah, he's on there.
Yeah,
I back that.
Everyone backs it. Everyone backs it. Only me that doesn't back it. Anyway.
I mean, I feel like he's pressuring you now, Caitriona. You don't have to change your answer.
I'm not pressuring. I'm just.
No, you are.
I'm just saying. just bear in mind, she's on there forever. If that's your taste, you can say whatever you want. I support a woman's right to choose.
I'm not associated with the podcast, so that won't reflect as ethically badly on me as it will on
us too.
You guys if she's on the tapestry forever. I feel like it would be an emotionally scarring relationship in the end, so maybe I'll rescind my yes. And
it'd probably have elements of toxicity, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think there would be difficult compromises that would have to be made in that relationship.
How, sort of like, by percentage, what do you think your success rate, how confident are you in your success rate for changing her, you know?
I'm going to say a solid 60.
Above half.
Because I think she does seem to be, I can't say 100% because I think she's quite into the killing. She's quite committed to it.
How would you feel if you reduced it to like cats and dogs rather than people?
I think still not ideal, but I would respect the willingness to meet in the middle on that.
to
try new things,
isn't it?
Everyone just likes their partner. Just to try new things. They don't have to be into that thing.
Yeah.
You just have to try it every now and then to see if they actually like it.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Also, would you worry that it could go the other way and she could get you into it? You could end up with a taste for blood.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people feel pressured to get into their partner's hobbies, so maybe.
I'll at least hold them down while you murder them. But if you could just try and watch some French cinema with me, honestly, some of it's really good. It's not like boring art cinema. So if it's like stuff like you might, I swear you'll like Amélie. I'll hold it down if you watch Amélie.
I mean, I don't know where we stand now. Whether she's on the Bayeux tapestry, whether she's not on the Bayeux tapestry. I guess
I don't think she is. I think we've all, having discussed it, decided no.
Fair enough. So Elizabeth Bathory does not make the tapestry. Oh, God bless her. We will simply ghost her. I think.
Kath, can we change the format going forward, please? And can it be a majority vote?
Sure. In which case, it would still be that she does not make the tapestry.
It came way too close to her getting on there. I just want in future be like, please, can we have a majority vote? I mean, it might not have helped the Guy Fawkes. It might not have helped actually because it was just us two. So we need to figure out if it's just us two, like what breaks the vote. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. That's I don't make the rules. I mean, I
do.
do.
We just make it up as we go along.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Caitriona, where can people find you? What are you doing? Comedically, historically, and generally?
Historically, if you want to read a thesis about the restriction and mediation of sacred space in the Middle Ages, that's not anywhere, but maybe it will be at some point. Comedically, I'm doing a show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival this year called Caitriona Dowden is Holier Than Thou, and it's about why I should be made into a Catholic saint. So there's a lot of medieval nun material in that. It's at Banshee Labyrinth every day at 12:50.
A fun insight into the world of podcast recording is that we record episodes out of order, and sometimes we sit on records for absolutely ages. In some cases, far too long. You just heard Caitriona talking about how she's going to be at Edinburgh Festival this year doing her new show. It is now her old show, and that Edinburgh is in the past because Muggins here sat on the recording for a full 6 months. Oh yes, a full 180 days, baby. So sadly, you've missed Caitriona's show. However, I've just messaged her asking, does she have anything else coming up? And she has said, yes, I am doing a work in progress of new ideas at the Leicester Comedy Festival in February, so that could be good to plug. It's called Caitriona Dowden Seeks Inspiration and is on at Duffy's Bar at 1:20pm on the 23rd of February. She hasn't said if she's then carrying on that work in progress at other festivals like Edinburgh and whatnot, but my guess is she might do, and it will develop into something. So, but honestly, just follow Caitriona at Caitriona Dowden, CAITRIONADOWDEN, and follow her. She's fantastic. Don't be afraid of the fact that it's a work in progress of new ideas. Caitriona only has good ideas. I've seen her do new material stuff at the night I used to run in London. I've seen her do split hours at Edinburgh. She's always brilliant, so please go and check her out. Back to the podcast. I try not to blow smoke up too many guests' arses, but Caitriona, you are definitely one of my favourite comedians on the circuit. You used to come and play my Night Hoopla Fresh in London a lot. And you are, in my view, offensively young. But I've always thought there's like clearly something there. You've always been doing stuff that isn't really like what anyone else is doing. And I do mean that in the best way possible. It's witty, it's funny. As a fellow lapsed Catholic, it very much speaks to me. So if I can get up to Edinburgh this year, I'm definitely going to see it. And I highly recommend anyone else who does, because you're always very funny. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, sounds like a wicked show.
Thanks.
Where are you? What are your handles for the social medias so people can find you?
Just my full name, all lowercase, just Caitriona Dowden on Instagram and Twitter.
Boom. Give her a follow. So, Elizabeth Bathory is a no on the Bayeux Tap Baptistry. But thank you for listening. Spread the word, spread your legs, and remember, it's not what's on the outside, it's what's on the inside of the coffin that counts. Goodbye. You have been listening to Historical Hot or Not with me, Catherine Mather, and Aidan McCaffrey. Theme song by David Eagle, and our logo is by Richard Todd. You can head over to co-b.com/hotnotpod. Over there we've got some Hot Knot merch. We are currently selling branded condoms and branded badges. Get over there while stocks last.